And another thing I do want to say is that unless you increase the education budget, I think it's going to be really difficult for you to have a successful referendum. Last year and the year before, I think everybody worked together collaboratively, the PTAs, some of the political groups, and Board of Education, and even Board of Finance and Legislative Council decided that we were going to support the budget, and we had a full get out the vote efforts, and it was easy to approve that budget by a significant margin with high voter turnout. 1,239 people stayed home on Tuesday, and there's a reason. We can't dismiss the silent protesters. Okay, people were very conflicted. They couldn't go out there and vote yes to cut $2.5 million to see their kids reduce, to have less services and have higher class sizes, and it's not fair.
It looks like to me if everybody here that had voted no had voted yes, it would have passed. Now we're facing further reductions, and that's very upsetting to me. In spite of the no votes that are here tonight, overall, the facts are that we had fewer no votes than we usually do. So to me, that says 3% is probably about right. It's probably what the community can tolerate. It's not personally what I'd like to see, but as we've heard so many times tonight, it is a democracy. It's not about what 300 people want or 50 people want. It's about the majority.
I've lived here for 17 years. My husband's been here for 25. We have 2 children. We stayed here in Newtown because of the schools. One of my daughters has special needs and has a 1-to-1 aide. She needs help. She has OT, speech, and PT. So the more you cut from the education, she needs a 1-to-1 aide. I'm worried that she's not going to be able to get the special services she needs. Also, on my road, every time you turn around all day, you see Newtown trucks back and forth doing things in Fairfield Hills. That property's been sitting there for 20 years, and now all of a sudden, with a recession, they're doing, work over there, which I think is a waste. The education should be put back, and the children are the ones that are going to suffer.
I'm not speaking on behalf of as a police commissioner tonight. I'm speaking as a private citizen, and I think the problem that we're facing right now starts before the budget. It starts before the election. It starts with the town committees, and the problem is the town committees only put up enough candidates for the seats that are available. And we know what happens with the boards that we have in place right now. I think if we want to change and give people a choice on what goes on in the budgets, we need to have choices at election time. And to put up enough candidates is not offering people the choices. So I would encourage the town committees to offer people a choice at election time. And perhaps we wouldn't be sitting here with the same outcome every year. And that's really all I have to say. I think that would solve the problem of the advisory questions. But if we're gonna put the same officials in place every single year who do the same thing, then there's no mystery in what the outcome is going to be when it comes to budget time.
The only comment that I'd make on behalf of the Board of Finance is that when we presented the budget to you, we had suggested, and actually I think we did it officially in the form of a resolution, to look at any other types of savings of revenues that can be generated, and this certainly falls into that category. The insurance number seems to tighten itself as we get closer to this time every year. It's just a function of the calendar and the budget and the time that we can get this information in our fiscal year. That's the reason why we made that resolution. So these all fall into areas that I don't want to speak for everybody. You can shake your hand if you want to say something, but certainly would be in the areas that are consistent with the resolution that we made.
First, a sort of mild protest at our board's presence. I understand it comes from a good place and that we want to achieve a brain trust here, but we do have a process and the ball is in the council's court at this point. Frankly, the boards that put the budget to you did so based on the knowledge they had at that juncture, I'm not sure they're any more skilled than you are in reading the voter tea leaves. Moreover, I don't think it's as appropriate for those three boards to do so as opposed to you. However, I'm here. I'm going to offer a couple of comments. In no order of importance, I hope that the school forces learned a lesson this go around, and that is that inaction is actually action. It equates to an outcome. If there is not a school vote, the budget will fail. School forces have two other choices. They can support the budget, which is often the case, realizing that it might be the most they're going to have on the table, or they can vote against the budget, and if they come out in sufficient numbers, that does send a message, even absent advisory questions.
Just as a kind of a comment on where we are, and not to be specific about any numbers or any of our actions, but I just think that where we are is a place that is a difficult place, where our community is not happy, and we're moving from this budget, whether it passes or whether it fails again. And I think we're going to walk away not knowing anything more than we did before we started with respect to what are the wishes and desires of members of the community. And I think that that's unfortunate. Personally, I believe that our jobs are on the Board of Selectmen as agents to the town, and on Legislative Council as representatives to the town. And our jobs are to the town, to the people of the town, to the taxpayers, to do what they want us to do, not to impose our personal policy preferences, which I don't believe any of us want to do, but I think that sometimes it comes across that way.
The other thing is I wanted to just pass this over to Janet for just a minute. There was a comment by one of our public participation speakers that was an error, and if you'd indulge us, I'd like her to fix that problem.
Sure.
Okay, Janet?
One of the gentlemen commented that at the end of the year, the Board of Education voted themselves an increase. Like the other boards here, the Board of Education is a voluntary, unpaid board. They do not vote themselves an increase. The increase he's speaking about is me. It was my salary that was discussed. So it wasn't a big deal. And I was in fact granted on paper a 2% increase, which was given back to the town in the form of 6.5 furlough days, unpaid.
Thanks, Janet. The other thing I'd just like to add to all this discussion is, as we sit here and look at the math of voting, I'm very concerned that, from what we've heard tonight and what I've personally been told by many, many people, and I was advocating a yes vote all along because I did not want to have the situation we have tonight with potentially the education side getting additional cuts. Because unlike other school districts that are suffering through these economic times, Newtown doesn't have tons of programs that would be seen as extras.